She looked like just another bystander, plain clothes, quiet stance, no rank in sight. Commander Marcus Sullivan didn't even bother to ask her name. He ordered her away, barked at her like she was nothing. But then her jacket shifted and a tattoo flashed beneath the sun, E29V, the mark of a sniper unit so elite, most believe it's a myth. They thought she was a nobody. What they didn't know, she once saved an entire SEAL team with 7 impossible shots through a sandstorm. Let us know where you're watching from and what time you found this. We read every single comment. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos. Commander Marcus Sullivan's polished boots crunched against the sand as he strode toward the civilian woman at his fence line, his authority radiating like a force field around the SEAL training grounds. The morning sun glinted off his commander's insignia, a symbol of power he'd worked 15 years to earn. Nobody, especially not some wandering civilian, would threaten his domain. "Ma'am, this is a restricted area," he barked, noting with satisfaction how the recruits snapped to attention at his voice. Their fear fed his confidence like oxygen to flame. But when the woman turned, something about her deliberate, measured movement sent an unfamiliar tremor through his spine. Her jacket shifted, revealing a glimpse of ink that made Commander Marcus Sullivan's breath catch in his throat. E29V, the legendary team. His mind raced, pride warring with a creeping unease. "Your credentials," he demanded, compensating for his uncertainty with extra volume. A recruit nearby started filming discreetly on their phone, the soft click of the camera barely audible over the crashing waves. "I'm just observing, Commander." She replied, her quiet voice carrying the weight of experience that made his own authority feel suddenly hollow. Commander Marcus Sullivan's hand instinctively tightened on his collar pin, his personal talisman of control. "This is my training ground," he asserted, stepping into her space, blocking her view of the exercises. "Your past glory doesn't grant you access." The words came out sharp, defensive. A small crowd of recruits had gathered phones, raised the hashtag #SEAL Showdown, already forming in their minds. But before she could respond, a voice cut through the tension like a knife. "Commander Sullivan, Sir Captain Reynolds needs you immediately. It's about Operation Silent Vortex." The name hit Commander Marcus Sullivan like a physical blow. Silent Vortex, the mission that had made her a legend and left him in the shadows. His carefully constructed world of absolute authority began to crack. Have you ever felt your power threatened by someone you were supposed to respect? The thought echoed in his mind as he polished his collar pin later that evening, watching the training ground footage go viral. Sullivan's shame was trending, and each ping of his phone felt like another nail in his coffin of control. Looking at his reflection, Commander Marcus Sullivan remembered his mentor's words. "Power isn't about rank, Marcus. It's about earning respect." But he'd forgotten that lesson somewhere along the way, hadn't he? Now, as the sun set over the base, casting long shadows across his office, a question burned in his mind. How long could he maintain his grip on authority when a legend had emerged from the shadows to challenge everything he stood for? Type "power falls" if you've ever witnessed authority crumble. His fingers traced the edge of his collar pin, its once comforting weight now feeling like a burden. The viral video had already reached 100,000 views, and tomorrow's training exercises loomed ahead. Commander Marcus Sullivan's empire of control was built on sand, and the tide was rising. From the dark confines of his office, Commander Marcus Sullivan stares at the damning evidence glowing on his tablet screen, his fingers trembling with a mixture of fury and disbelief. The ballistics data from Operation Silent Vortex mocks everything he's built his career upon. His reputation as the SEAL team's foremost expert on long-range combat effectiveness. Rain pelts against his office window, eerily similar to that stormy night in 2012. Commander Marcus Sullivan's mind races back to the countless lectures he's given, the papers he's published, all definitively stating that such shots were theoretically impossible. Yet here sits the irrefutable proof that Aaron Elizabeth Vaughn had achieved the impossible. 7 kills through conditions that defied every accepted principle of ballistic science. "This can't be right," Commander Marcus Sullivan mutters obsessively, rechecking his calculations. The trajectory angles, wind velocity, and bullet drop rates flash across his screen. Each verification only confirms what he refuses to accept: that a woman he'd dismissed as an unwelcome observer had accomplished what he'd declared impossible. His hand unconsciously reaches for the silver eagle pin on his collar, a nervous habit developed over 2 decades of command. Memories surface of subtle signs he'd ignored. The way she'd quietly corrected a junior sniper's stance during morning drills. Her knowing smile when he'd confidently declared certain shot angles beyond human capability during the tactical review. Commander Marcus Sullivan's chest tightens as he realizes how many witnesses had seen him publicly challenge her credentials just hours ago. The rain intensifies, drumming against the windows like accusatory fingers. Commander Marcus Sullivan pulls up his personnel database, scanning through redacted files with growing desperation. How had he missed this? The weight of his own arrogance crashes down as heavily as the thunder outside. Each classified document reveals another layer of Aaron Elizabeth Vaughn's extraordinary career. Missions he'd studied as textbook examples of impossible marksmanship. Type blind spot if you've ever underestimated someone who proved you wrong, flashes across the screen of his mind as Commander Marcus Sullivan grapples with his shattered worldview. His silver eagle pin catches the light as he slumps back in his chair, its gleam now seeming more accusatory than proud. Commander Marcus Sullivan's thoughts spiral through years of dismissing female candidates from advanced sniper training, all justified by his scientific analysis of physical capabilities. How many other Aaron Elizabeth Vaughns had he driven away with his prejudices masked as expertise? A knock at his door startles him. "Sir," his assistant's voice wavers. "The video from this morning's confrontation. It's trending on several military forums." Commander Marcus Sullivan's blood runs cold. He doesn't need to ask which hashtag they're using. Marcus Sullivan wrong already haunts his notifications. The rain continues its relentless assault as Commander Marcus Sullivan faces the growing realization that his carefully constructed fortress of authority is built on foundations of bias. Each drop echoes with the weight of opportunities denied, talents dismissed, and barriers reinforced through his own willing blindness. Have you ever watched your entire belief system crumble? He whispers to his reflection in the dark window, the silver eagle pin now heavy with the weight of responsibility. Thunder crashes outside as if nature itself is demanding accountability for years of systematic exclusion justified by flawed science. Commander Marcus Sullivan opens his drawer, pulling out training rejection letters he'd issued over the years. Each one bears his signature. Each one cites his scientific analysis of capability limitations. The stack feels heavier, now weighted with the consequences of his biased certainty. The rain drums harder like a jury delivering its verdict on years of discriminatory decisions hidden behind a facade of expertise. Commander Marcus Sullivan's fingers drummed against his desk as he stared at the viral video playing on his monitor, his earlier certainty crumbling like sand through an hourglass. The footage of Aaron Elizabeth Vaughn's impossible shots had spread through the base like wildfire, each view, and share seal agenda, another crack in his carefully constructed authority. His throat tightened as he watched the precision, the skill he had so arrogantly dismissed mere hours ago. The medals lay scattered across his desk, silent witnesses to his growing unease. Each gleaming surface reflected his own haunted expression, forcing him to confront the magnitude of his error. The compass, that damned compass he'd mocked, seemed to mock him now, its arrow pointing accusingly at his chest. "Sir, the video's reached headquarters." Lieutenant Chen reported from the doorway, her voice careful, measured. "Admiral Richardson wants to speak with you immediately." Sullivan's hand instinctively reached for his commander's insignia, the cold metal offering no comfort now. Through his office window, the cadence of training recruits echoed. The same rhythmic sound that had once filled him with pride now felt like a funeral dirge. His empire was unraveling thread by devastating thread. The message notification on his screen pinged again. Another share, another comment praising Vaughn's legendary status. Sullivan's fingers trembled as he opened his personnel database, scrolling through Operation Silent Vortex's classified files. Each achievement, each confirmed kill he uncovered was another nail in the coffin of his reputation. "Have you ever watched your whole world shift beneath your feet?" Sullivan whispered to his empty office, his voice barely audible above the hum of his computer. "Have you felt the ground you thought was solid turn to quicksand?" His phone buzzed incessantly. Calls from fellow commanders, messages from superiors, all demanding explanations for his treatment of a decorated hero. The base's internal network was flooded with stories of Vaughn's exploits, each one a stark reminder of his catastrophic misjudgment. Through the glass walls of his office, Sullivan caught glimpses of whispered conversations of heads turning away when he looked their direction. The respect he'd commanded hours ago had evaporated like morning mist under a harsh sun. Even Master Chief Peterson, his most steadfast ally, had quietly removed himself from their scheduled afternoon briefing. The compass on his desk spun lazily its direction, as uncertain as his future. Sullivan reached for it, his fingers ghosting over its surface, before pulling back unworthy. The same instrument he'd dismissed as a rookie's crutch now represented everything he'd failed to navigate. Honor, respect, true leadership. "Commander Sullivan." His intercom crackled. "Admiral Richardson is holding on line 1. He's requesting immediate video conference." Sullivan straightened his uniform, a futile gesture against the tide of consequences crashing against his office doors. The viral hashtag, Joked Seal Legend, had evolved into Soticht Sullivan Fail, each notification a digital reminder of his hubris. The weight of his commander's insignia, once a source of pride, now felt like a millstone around his neck. As he prepared to face Admiral Richardson, Sullivan realized with crushing clarity that he wasn't just facing a disciplinary action. He was facing the end of everything he'd built his identity upon. Type pride falls if you've ever witnessed someone's arrogance lead to their downfall. The setting sun cast long shadows through his office window, transforming the space into a prison of his own making. In the distance, the firing range had fallen silent, as if nature itself was holding its breath for his impending reckoning. Commander Marcus Sullivan, who had started this day believing he was untouchable, now sat alone with the bitter taste of hubris turning to ashes in his mouth. Reintroducing Commander Marcus Sullivan, he stands rigidly at the front of his assembled officer's jaw clenched tight as his world begins to crumble. The sharp crack of the flag whipping against the pole makes him flinch. A sound that once filled him with pride now feels like an accusation. His fingers trace the commander's insignia on his collar, the cold metal offering no comfort as Aaron Elizabeth Vaughn's steady voice cuts through the morning air. The whispers rippling through his officers' ranks feel like tiny betrayals. Even Tommy, that quiet lieutenant he'd dismissed countless times, stands taller, now pride evident in his bearing, as his sister speaks. This was never about glory. Commander Marcus Sullivan thinks bitterly, his carefully constructed narrative dissolving with each word from Vaughn's lips. The weight of his misjudgment bears down as she describes Operation Silent Vortex, a mission he'd smugly assumed was embellished. The truth hits harder than any combat training he'd been desperately wrong about her. His phone buzzes insistently. The base's social media is exploding with Foster Vaughn vindicated. His secretary's message confirms his growing dread. CNN picking up the story. They want comment on your treatment of a decorated SEAL hero. Commander Marcus Sullivan's hand trembles slightly as he reaches for his ceremonial saber, his symbol of authority now feeling like a prop in a farce. The morning sun catches its polished surface, reflecting his distorted expression back at him. Was this what power always looked like? He wonders, seeing himself through his officer's eyes for the first time. Heroism isn't about recognition. Vaughn's words echo across the parade ground, and Commander Marcus Sullivan feels each syllable like a physical blow. It's about doing what's necessary, then living with those choices. The truth of her statement strips away his remaining defenses. His officers' faces show a respect he now realizes he never truly earned. The hashtag continues trending. Sullivan shamed joins, Chok Vaughn vindicated. His empire of intimidation dissolves in the face of genuine valor. Share this video if you've ever witnessed true leadership triumph over false authority. Type honor if you stand with Vaughn. Commander Marcus Sullivan's fingers release the saber, letting it hang heavy at his side. The flag snaps again in the wind, no longer an accusation, but a reminder of the values he'd forgotten. The same values Vaughn had silently upheld while he'd attempted to diminish her. His voice cracks, the first sign of vulnerability his officers have ever witnessed from him. I appear to have made a grave error in judgment. The admission costs him everything he thought he valued, yet somehow feels like the first honest thing he's said in years. The live streams capture every moment of his unraveling. His phone continues buzzing, headquarters demanding explanations, media requesting statements, social media exponentially amplifying his downfall. Commander Marcus Sullivan stands paralyzed, watching his carefully constructed world collapse under the weight of authentic heroism. Tommy steps forward, his quiet voice carrying unexpected authority. Permission to escort Commander Sullivan to his office, ma'am. The formal request to Vaughn, not him, confirms the power shift. Commander Marcus Sullivan follows numbly each step under the watchful eyes of his former subordinates, feeling like a march of shame. The true meaning of service, he reflects reaching his office door, was standing in front of me all along wearing no medals at all. His ceremonial saber clatters to his desk, the sound of its fall marking the end of his reign of intimidation. Drop 1. If you believe true leadership comes from character, not rank, share this moment of justice. Commander Marcus Sullivan grips the brass compass, its worn surface reflecting the dying sunlight across my office. Even now, as the weight of truth settles over everything I thought I knew, I can't stop staring at the way the light catches the scratches, each one probably earned in moments I can't begin to comprehend. The compass that had seemed like such damning evidence just days ago now feels like a testament to my own blindness. My fingers trace the edge of my desk where just yesterday I had slammed my fist in righteous indignation. The evening colors begin to play across the bass, that familiar melody now carrying a different weight. Each note seems to mock my previous certainty, my arrogance in believing I knew what a hero should look like. Chief Vaughn. I manage my voice barely above a whisper as I watch her gather her few belongings. The legendary E29V tattoo peeks out from beneath her sleeve, no longer an object of my suspicion, but a mark of valor I had been too proud to recognize. I owe you more than just an apology. She pauses, those eyes that have seen more combat than I could imagine meeting mine with neither judgment nor contempt. That's what cuts deepest. Her complete absence of resentment after everything I put her through. The whispers of Operation Silent Vortex echo in my mind stories of impossible shots and saved lives that I had dismissed as myths. Now I know the truth. The greatest hero I've ever met chose silence, not out of shame, but out of humble strength. Commander, she says simply, some battles are won with bullets, others with patience. The bass speakers crackle with the last notes of colors as she shoulders her pack. The strongest warriors aren't always the ones shouting their victories. My hands shake slightly as I extend the compass back to her. I've spent my career looking for legends in all the wrong places. I admit the weight of my misjudgment heavy in my throat. Never thought I'd find one quietly watching training exercises. She accepts the compass with a slight smile that carries volumes of unspoken history. "Keep it," she says, pressing it back into my palm. "Let it remind you that true strength isn't about who can shout the loudest. It's about choosing when to speak and when to serve in silence." The door closes behind her with a soft click that seems to echo through my office. Through the window, I watch her cross the parade ground, her figure silhouetted against the setting sun. Other service members passing by have no idea they're in the presence of a legend. And now I understand that's exactly how she wants it. The compass sits heavy in my hand, its brass face catching the last rays of daylight. My reflection stares back at me from its scratched surface, forever changed by this lesson in humility and true heroism. Drop 2 if this ending moved you to reflect on true heroism. Share this story if you believe the quietest warriors often carry the strongest hearts. The bass falls quiet as darkness settles, but the truth rings louder than any drill command I've ever given. Sometimes the greatest legends are written not in headlines or medals, but in the silent choices of those who serve without seeking glory. Commander Marcus Sullivan's greatest lesson wasn't learned through authority, but through the quiet dignity of a hero who never needed to prove herself at all.